I did find something in here that I think is absolutely fascinating. This is the B17 duct assembly. So there's a whole series on this house, and every step we've done so far to get here, there's a crock pot dish in there. And we have got to dive into some structural issues. For some reason, this room was added on as a kitchen. So that is formally an exterior wall. They added this room on, but for some reason they came up 2 steps, roughly 14 inches, but they didn't raise the ceiling when they did so. Now over here, I guess they decided to add this door in after they'd done a bunch of other things wrong. So they basically cut the rafters and the ceiling joists here, put in some 2x4s. Basically, this is a big hinge and it's sagging because all of the weight is here and there's nothing underneath it.
That's not how it works.
All of the weight was being carried by the 2 rafters that did extend on the outside edges. This one, which has a ton of water damage, has split and failed. And this one that is still kind of okay. So as we walk further and further away, we can see that that side is dropping down significantly more than this side. Because everything is a bit of a cattywampus mess, I'm gonna just go ahead and measure at the laser line. That's coming in at 6'8"3/4. All right, that's it. From this 2x4 to this mark is 3 inches. That's how much this has sagged. 3 inches it's dropped down. I need the measurement from one side to the other. Basically 11.7½. Using a Bosch laser measure. They're not cheap for the decent ones, 70, 80 bucks, but I beat the snot out of it and it still works. So I recommend them if you're going to be doing a lot of measuring. And you don't want to be trying to wiggly stick a truth in all by your lonesome all the time. Here we go. Here we go. Good thing I didn't leave any obstacles in the way. 11th time's the charm. Alright. That's something in it. So this should do the trick. My plan here is to get this floor out so that I can figure out how to make this room the same level as the rest of the house so that the ceilings are not at 6 foot and change. Everything's plain old wrong. Oh, penny, how about that? Huh. Not what I expected. I thought I was going to see linoleum over plywood, but what I'm seeing is linoleum over hardwood. This definitely appears to be tongue and groove, real, no joke, hardwood. It's amazing what goes in and out of style, right? Linoleum was the great big thing. They covered up what is now extremely expensive hardwood. It's not, I mean, not salvageable, but at least not with the work I'm willing to put into it. When this stuff is done right, it does not want to come up. It's angle nails and all that. You can usually get an edge out, but all one by. So again, it just confirms everything that we've already confirmed. This house is built in the Wayback Machine. Now we use plywood as subfloor. This is all one by material running at a diagonal across the joists. Interesting. I thought this might have been a little bit later, but I was wrong. All right, sports fans, we're strategizing. I highly recommend some clean breakdancing cardboard for all sorts of activities. I keep a stash of it. This, you guys can probably see way better than me, is the crawl space under what was the kitchen. Yeah. All right. I mean, it's coming up, but boy howdy. I am wondering if a smarter version of me would just run a circular saw every couple of feet, and that'll give me a breaking point, because it is, no joke, tongue and groove, hardwood. It was installed with these old school blacksmith carpenter nails. It's for real. Boy howdy, is this some work. Cutting it is definitely helping. It's kind of peeling back, but in a lot of places the laminate is glued on there so well that it's creating basically roll-up desktops. It's also leaving plenty of hardware sticking out. Oh, I guess I'm just gonna keep plugging away, team. There's a lot left to do, and I don't see a better way to do it. Well, team, been at it a few hours, like really only 1 or 2, but it feels like a lot longer. These are very long hours. They're only about a third of the way through with the top layer. I got to take out the next layer, and then we got to take out the framing. Got a lot to do. A lot to do. Here goes. I think I'm about 4 hours in, and I'm about halfway through taking out the hardwood and laminate. I will say the laminate being on there and glued down as well as it's glued down is definitely making things more difficult. Keep morale up. And I'm gonna go walk the dog because she's number 1. Well, the sun's going down. That's never stopped us from starting or restarting a project, now has it? I don't wanna, but I'm gonna anyway. And then we're just gonna go to town with old Leroy, Redneck CrossFit. It's hard work. All right. Got a little bit of this row to do right here, but maybe, I don't know, I'll figure that out. I just really couldn't work backwards against that wall with the wreckage and the nails sticking up and the general danger zone that is this place right now. All right, so this is the wreckage I left myself last time I was here. Great. I know I gotta break this table down, but it doesn't want to get out any of the doors, and I got all that junk on it, so I'm just gonna keep shuffling it around and working around it. It's full of lots of little pointy things. Let's get it out of here. This has been a particularly unpleasant journey. That floor did not want to come up. It's interesting though about the construction. So I still have a couple pieces of plywood that are clearly from repairs at some point. I still have to get this edge. As usual, the sink had a leak for a long time. I want to go ahead and get all the dust out of here. I don't want to sweep it up, I want to vacuum it up. Got a little trick for that too. All right, gang, if you're thinking home renovation, you think you're gonna break out your shop vac. Well, a couple things about this. This is really just a dust mover or rounder unless you set it up right. The filters that come with this do not collect dust particles nearly the size that you want. And what that means is, it comes in this tube, without an extra tube in the exhaust, it all just comes right back out here. Also, this thing is like a leaf blower. So even if you have a high dollar HEPA filter that keeps all the dust that you pull in inside the machine, this is still blowing air, spreading all the dust around that you are not actively pulling up. So save your money on the filters. Take the dinky little hose that comes with it, jam it in the exhaust, and buy yourself one or several very long vacuum hoses. That way, when you flip the thing on, it's blowing all, that's how much air would otherwise be blowing this dust all around the room and up into the sky and thus into my lungs, and in your case, yours. So this is a much better setup. They sell these right at the store. They should sell them with it, because otherwise these things are pretty much useless. Vacuum hack. I did find something in here that I think is absolutely fascinating. So I was peeling up this paper underlayment. It says from Goodyear Aircraft, I guess Litchfield, Arizona. I haven't looked that up to make sure there's not another letter under here. But this says what it was. Duct assembly B-17B, which I'm assuming is B-17 bomber. It has a DWG, so drawing number, revision number. I'm going to see if I can find some plans for a B-17 and figure out what this was. I know quick research says that they had ductwork that, I'm sure they had ductwork through the aircraft, but some of the stuff that comes up in a quick search is the ductwork that fed air from the wing into the superchargers and into the coolers. And it is going to be on display in the house because it's just too cool. We ought to move our science experiment into the old dumpster. I only dropped it once on the way over here. Fortunately, straps and the duct tape held, because there's nothing but a biological weapon in here. Absolute stink bomb. We're gonna lay it down. We're gonna bury it. Never to be opened again. There's $1 million in here in gold bars. I'm never gonna find it. This is the B-17 duct assembly, which is super cool. Over here we have another piece of a crate to Lockheed Martin. Over here we have a handwritten piece of crate. You'll notice that the subfloor is all different thicknesses as well. I'm really curious to see if we end up with more crate labels on the bottom side. And we're about ready to start pulling the subfloor up, which is pretty exciting. It's really what we've been working towards. You can see the pencil marks on the ground. At some point there was indeed a wall under this joist. It runs these pencil lines into that double stud right there. What does that mean? I have no idea. So we can see the original sill plate. Ooh, that's termite damage. Ruh-roh. The original band joist and what was the framing for a 3-foot 6'8" door. I spent a lot of time being worried about how we were going to lower this floor properly. I'm not worried about it anymore, not because I have any new information, but just because, well, we're going to figure it the hell out. Let's see. Let's give that a whack. That's not that bad. Good. So we'll go ahead and treat everything for termites while we're in here, while we have everything apart. Foundations, crawl space, everything. And then once we are done with that, and we'll repair any damage we find along the way. It's going to be all right. So we're going to finish our afternoon espresso with the scenic view of the dumpster. And we're going to dive back in and do more heavy labor. So I've never had to pull the subfloor out on a space this large before. I've done it in a bathroom. My guts are to do it from the top as opposed to down in the crawl space. So we're going to try to start maybe in that corner. Maybe where we can get this first board out and figure that out. There are going to be significant portions of this that are not any fun, so that really can't be a qualifier. Obviously on a joist, I'm saying or so because I don't know the exact joist spacing. It's discouraging. Alright, that's it. Just need a bigger doohickey there. Alright, well, look at that timber right there. That's a sill plate if I've ever seen one. Holy smokes. Why is that like that? I mean, it's awesome, but it's going to cause us a problem. All right, so I'm thinking about it. I think I can go build a tool that's going to give us a lot of leverage that will help out here in the situation. So I'm going to go do that. It's an unholy mess here in the shop, but I guess that's proof that I got something done at some point. It doesn't make a mess all by itself. I love this thing. Use your mind's eye and turn your brain sideways. Short version of what we're going to do here is weld these on. And then that way, we'll rest this on our floor joists. And then we'll be able to pry back. It's going to be great. It'll make sense when you see it happen. I think it ought to work. Should fit over a thing. They're about even. So we can do some pryitude. We're using the Arc Captain on this one because it's hooked up to the gas. I know it's up to the challenge. It's not scared. Doesn't need to be on full explode mode, just by like 82% explode. The idea is we'll be able to put this on the floor joist, jam it under our pieces, and then pry back with a big lever. It's just like Bob Hope said, give me a big enough lever, and I'll move the world. I definitely did a lousy and haphazard job, but that doesn't mean it won't work. It's a fit. Interesting. And it doesn't, it still works as a pry bar, but wow. It's got its place. This is just gonna be harder than I thought because these nails aren't pulling out. The boards are snapping first. So let me see if I can develop a technique. Absolutely fascinating as usual, gang. So this was notched. This is the plumbing vent and the drain for what used to be the sink and I guess the dishwasher here. It was just notched. So rodents had come up through the floor into this part of the wall, which was behind the cabinets. So guaranteed going to happen if you live in an area with critters, which is everywhere. So you do want to fill that stuff with some like wire mesh and these days foam, and that should help keep them out. Also, you can see daylight through a gap like that. That's like a critter superhighway. Like, they wanted to be here. You had water leaks, so there was water, and food snacks. And when I cleaned this place out initially, mountains of cat food on the floor. Bags plus bowls. So these guys lived high on the hog. The other thing I'm seeing is like, this is serious lumber. It's a mixture of 2x6 and 2x8s or 10s. I'm not really sure what I'm dealing with here yet, but I know that this lumber is holding on to these nails enough that it's splintering the subfloor before the subfloor is willing to give it up, which means this wood is in incredibly good shape, or at least most of it is. Okay, it's slow going, but we're about a third of the way there. Definitely faster going than pulling up the floors. It's interesting to dive in here. This looks like heart pine, real, legit, bona fide lumber. It's in excellent shape. That beam is really pretty incredible. It's interesting. I actually thought that would have been under the wall, but maybe I'm wrong. The wall would have been here. So I'm not sure why the beam is there. I know it sounds dumb when people say like it's really nice wood or it's beautiful wood or whatever, especially when they're talking about pine, but once you get into enough of this like construction, do-it-yourself stuff and see the cost of lumber, A, and then also all of the lumber that we use nowadays is pretty much new growth, forested, grown, to be harvested. And so it's like these really young, not dense trees, so the rings are far apart, it's supposed to grow real fast and soft, and it bends. It turns into hockey sticks, man. It's all Canadian wood if you're not, you know, careful. So the idea that this wood is in this good of condition after 50 or 60 years and not bowed, not twisted, not warped, it's pretty solid. And all those nails are still biting into it. It snapped all of this 1x lumber rather than pulling the nails back out of that wood. Pretty wild. I will say I'm not sure when nail guns were invented. All these nails are sunk into the wood and there's no hammer marks. So either somebody was driving these nails and then setting them with a punch or a nail set, or they were fired in. But I don't know. It's forensics. You guys know about nail guns and the history of. Put it in there. Also, this pillow down here. All I could think was, oh, gross, there's a pillow. And then I tried to move it, and it's a bag of concrete that got left there, and that is a concrete pillow is what that is. So. Continue on, more mysteries. This plumbing's been disconnected for a long time. Guy can tell because, well, there's a hole in the ground underneath it where the water has basically just washed everything away. This ran to the sink over here and the clothes washing machine in the other room. It's also interesting to see that this, at some point, we have cast iron running to PVC. Not a small amount of work, ladies and gentlemen. I want to keep going, but I know better. I'm tired, and I was just wrestling stuff, and I was like, man, so that instinct kicked in. I said, man, if you keep going, you are going to hurt yourself. And that is the opposite of progress on so many levels. So you got to learn that about yourself. I know it about myself. I would have liked to get all of this done, but better than being hurt and then having to take who knows how long off while being in pain. So, it's wild though. Wild, wild, wild.